How much have you noticed? Because again, we just spoke about, your longevity in the UFC. How much have you noticed the UFC's changed since you started to now? It's changed a lot, right?
Yeah, changed so much. Changed so much.
Yeah.
First, one thing was about I remember when I started, they have that huge meetings that they used to do with the fighters, like that they bring all the fighters in the to have to have meetings there. And when I was there, everybody was talking about steroids. Everybody in the sport, I would
It's a
say
big part of this
98,
game. Yeah.
yeah, 98% at that time, it was like a rule for them. They were on steroids, you know. Everyone you would talk, they wouldn't express themselves like they wouldn't say, "Hey, I'm using steroid" or anything like that. But when you have like a confidential talk with a coach or a fighter and talking about someone's teammate, they say, "Oh, that guy does it. That guy does it. You need to do that. You need to use that." So I said, man, I'm part of the 2% that don't do it. So this is one thing, you know. USADA came to the game. Is one big change, you know. The
Yeah.
other big change, I think, was the sponsorship, the Reebok sponsorship, now Venom. But at that time, you still could use the any sponsorship you wanted, you know.
That was a big
And
hit. That was a big hit for the fighters, right?
yeah, very big hit, yes. And another thing was how the sport grew internationally, you know, like was earning was gaining a space all over the world. So many
Absolutely.
countries that at that time we would never expect, like China, for example, Sweden,
Yeah. Saudi Arabia.
even Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, even Brazil, man. Even Brazil, like because in 2011 was the first time they went back to Brazil, and then the sport exploded here, you know, in Brazil again, you know, like people knew Anderson Silva, but not the very big media, you know.
Yeah.
And my division, it can represent what I'm gonna say, you know, was the
Okay.
size difference of the fighters, you know. It changed so much. And the fighters now they cut a lot more weight than they used to do before, you know. Um, uh, uh, for example, many people. I used to fight a featherweight. I used to cut weight to fight a featherweight at
Yeah.
145. You know,
That's
now
crazy.
people come to me and say, "Hey, man, you need to go to flyweight to 125 because I'm one of the smallest guy in my divisions. When talk about height,
You
you
just
know,
fought a guy with the biggest reach in the division.
yeah, correct, exactly." So O'Malley also represents that he's very tall, long reach.
Mhm.
So he represents that people cuts more and more weight over the years. This is something that I think if you ask any fighter if they have to change something in the sport, if they want to change something in the sport, would be the weight cut thing because over the years they cut more and more weight. And after the UFC made the decision, I think in 2016, the Athletic Commission made the decision actually, but influenced by the UFC to have the weight to the weighing in the morning weighing, because before we used to wait at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the day before, and then now we wait at 9 a.m. in the morning. You know, 9 in the morning. So what does that mean? That the fighters have more time to recover the weight.
Sure.
So they get even bigger in the fight. This is another aspect, another change, you know. And I think Sean O'Malley, not only Sean O'Malley, but even the Brazilian guy, Poatan, there's so many guys that are so big for the weight class. Uh, like before, few years before, let's say TJ Dillashaw was the champion. He
Yep.
was not so big. He was
No.
not too big. but even him was caught by steroids, you know. So yeah, those were the changes.